Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as a citizens collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on future of sanitation, challenges and potential solutions. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions they are exploring. It has expanded since then to have more activities like the Friday Waters and the Monday Munching with Women for Waters, besides organizing on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. At W4W, we believe that water conversations are crucial to move towards water conservation, and that this is the only way to make water everybody's business. Please visit our website www.w4w.in for more details. The session today is co-hosted with the International Association of the Study of Commons, IASC, founded by late Eleanor and Vincent Ostrom from the Ostrom Workshops. The IASC series is meant to connect with water workers of Asia and around the world who are working in Asia's water matters to expand the idea of water commons. My name is Mansi Bal Bhargav, and I'm the host for the session and from W4W Foundation, besides holding the IASC Asia coordinator position. As we are discussing today about a grief challenge, and that is sanitation, which has been an equal challenge as access to drinking water. The apathy of the global sanitation scenario and the scenario in India are in tandem. So India is not doing any different than the way we look at the global scenario. In fact, it's even worse. While global agendas and national policies are in serious process of sanitation provision and management, the local implementation and maintenance have been a continuous challenge in India and across Asia, as I learned from my fellow scholars. In addition, the discriminatory sanitation standards based on economic status come heavy on public health. Anyway, I'm not going to talk more about it, but in today's session, we shall touch upon the global and local aspects of touching some of the sanitation issues. And today, to do that honor, we have people from International Water Association, really privileged to have them here. We have François Bernard Brikke and Florence Laker as speakers representing IWA, and Nikhil Kumar from TISS Hyderabad as discussant. Before I invite François to do his inaugural speech, followed by Florence, I'll just give a brief introduction and then post their bio in the chat box. François Brikke is development economist. I hope I have pronounced his name correctly. And he's a sanitation engineer with more than 30 years of experience in water and sanitation sector. He's now leading the Inclusive Urban Sanitation Initiative at the IWA based in London, and after holding senior positions at World Bank, as regional team leader of the Water and Sanitation Program in Latin America, at UNICEF as WASH, as chief in Indonesia, at Matt McDonald as country lead, and many, many programs, especially Global Water Partnership. And I mean, I can just go on and on, but I think I should leave the rest of the bio in the chat box and invite him to start his inaugural speech for the session. And thank you so much, François, Florence, and Nikhil for joining this session. I'm going to take Florence bio once she starts speaking. Over to you, François, and looking forward for your speech.
Yes, good afternoon. For us, it is still the morning here in London. So it's really a privilege to be with you. So thank you for that invitation. And we are going to be talking about the future of sanitation, but maybe just to remind, yes, I'm François Brikke. I live in London. We are in an organization called the International Water Association, and we are a member organization, and you would get a bit of explanation just very shortly on how this association is working. So really about the future of sanitation, you know, it's really amazing. In today's world, we are going to outer space. We've got satellites going around the planet, our planet. We've got artificial intelligence making their way into trying to improve our lives. We have smartphones, and we have, I mean, all this, but still on one of the most basic human needs that everybody has, that without any exception, sanitation, we still haven't made our way through. We haven't completed what is needed to really satisfy our needs. So it's really quite amazing. We are putting our intelligence on many other things, and on the basics we are not. And so this presentation, we are going to go over some of the basics of what is the situation today in the world, in South Asia, in India, how we should be looking at this holistically. And we are going to try to show you some ways that we are now working on to try to promote sanitation and be a success story. So hopefully this is going to be of interest to you, and we will end up with a film, with a video, which will show you in practical terms how this can be working, and which shows in practical terms also the different aspects of this approach we are promoting. So this is what we will be looking at, and we are very pleased again to be associated with this initiative. And please, maybe Florence, you want to give a few words about yourself?
Okay, let me then introduce Florence, and thank you. So I didn't realize that I should introduce both of you. Thank you so much. Just give me a moment. I'll introduce Florence and invite her also to speak. So Florence Laker is a senior officer at IWA, where she supports the implementation of IWA's Inclusive Urban Sanitation Initiative and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Agenda. With over 10 years of experience in the water and sanitation sector, she has worked with governments and international NGOs across various contexts. She has expertise in urban wash programming and is passionate about transformative urban sanitation solutions and approaches such as citywide inclusive sanitation. She has successfully managed multi-year wash projects focused on systems and strengthening public-private partnerships, stakeholder engagement, capacity building, and climate change. She holds her MSc in sanitation from ISG Delft Institute for Water Education and a postgraduate diploma in project planning and management and a BSc in environmental health. Thank you, Florence, and sorry for this glitch about the introduction. Over to you, and please now both of you can have a seamless presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So what we will do, we're going to start with Florence. Florence, please, could you explain us in a few words what is IWA?
Yes, thank you so much, François, and for giving this overview about our conversations and our discussions today. Yes, so the International Water Association is a global network of water and sanitation professionals that is built on the strength of its members. And so we are the world's largest membership organization that is focused solely on water and sanitation. Our members allow us to be a catalyst for change towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and also ensure a more sustainable water and sanitation-wide world. And therefore, this collective expertise of our members is key to addressing the complex challenges of urban sanitation, which we'll be delving more in our presentation and discussions today. And so in the next slide, I will take you through where our members are contributing globally or where IWA has its footprints. So our association spans nearly 9,000 members globally across diverse regions, as shown in this slide. And as you can see from the top 10 countries that constitute our membership base, the Asia region is leading, and specifically China and India are leading, and they constitute our largest membership base. And this broad representation supports a dynamic exchange of knowledge and practices, which is critical really for tackling the evolving challenges in this water and sanitation sector at both local, regional, and global levels. And in the next slide, I'll share more about the specialized communities within IWA. Our members get together in about 51 specialist groups covering all areas of water and sanitation related technology, services, and management. And some of the specialist groups address topics that are very specific, for example, water loss, whereas others are very broad. For example, we have a specialist group that is on sustainability in the water sector. That's a very broad specialist group. However, all the specialist groups are self-managed by our members. And of course, with support from the Secretariat. And together they represent IAA's core vehicle for interaction on scientific and technical management and challenges. This allows our members to work together to generate outputs, including publications, books, reports, and technical papers. And on top of that, we also, the different SGs are able to host webinars, workshops, and other in-person or online training activities. And to facilitate conversations across the different IAA specialist groups, we have clusters. And clusters are usually address cross-cutting issues that are relevant to more than one specialist group. And we currently host about 3 clusters, and the most active of them is the resources recovery from water cluster. We have another very important community of our members who are the young water professionals. And these are formed by members who are 35 years and 35 years old and below. And while they are able to engage in all the other activities that are organized by the association, they also work together with their peers, organizing young water professionals events, and also forming what we call the young water professional chapters. And as I speak of now, we have about 45 young water professional chapters across the world. We also have another community who are called the fellows and distinguished fellows. These are members who are recognized by their peers for their sustained outstanding contribution to national, regional, and global water sector, and also their continued commitment to IAA. Most of them play key leadership roles within the association as chairs of the specialist groups that I've talked about, but also some of them are board members, and others act as members, mentors to the young members. Finally, we have another communities of practice that bring together practitioners in specific field of practice. For example, we have the regulators community. And as already mentioned, our members are about 9,000 in total. So with this background, I would like to hand over to François, and he can take us through where we stand in terms of achieving our targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. So over to you, François.
Yes, thank you very much. So maybe let me put on my camera. Yes, so thank you, Florence. So maybe I should remind everyone that despite that I was mentioning that sanitation is a basic need, more than a need, it's a human right. It has been recognized as such by the United Nations. It is really one of the principles which should govern our public policies at local level, but also national level. Human rights is not something that we should bypass. However, you will see that the situation is a little bit strange. So Sustainable Development Goals, the 6 is on clean water and sanitation. What I'm going to share with you can be found in a report which is very detailed and very interesting, called the Sustainable Development Report from 2023. And we will see the situation, and we will see that normally we have some commitments as a world body, and we are not on track. So in the next slide, we will see now what is really the situation worldwide. So don't be afraid to see all these columns and numbers. We will start to look on the right side. What do we mean when we talk about sanitation services? You've got all these different, this is what the international community has defined, and it's quite important we see this. Open defecation, I think you will understand. This is speaking for itself. Unimproved, meaning that it's really the next step, meaning that you have the most basic containment in forms of there's no slab, it's just a pit latrine, and that's the very basic type of sanitation services. Limited meaning that you have something a bit more elaborated with platforms, maybe with walls, with a little door, but which is something that you are actually sharing with others. And then the basic one is actually one that you have, but you're not sharing. But then the other one, which is called a safely managed, is actually what we call, the same as the basic with improved facilities that you're not sharing necessarily with others, but that where your excreta is being managed, it's been treated or it's being removed in a safe way. So this is what we are aiming at, and this is actually what is measured for the SDG on sanitation, not the others. It's very important we understand that. It's not, we've got something with walls and that's it. No. Why it's not, the others are not measured as such? Because in sanitation, what is really important is not only to have the physical infrastructure, but to make sure that there's no communication between the excreta and the human, the people, where contamination can happen. So this is why the health safety is so important, the containment, the separation between human activities and the sludge of the fecal sludge or excreta. So this is very important to understand. So if I look on the left side now in the world, you've got 2015 and 2022. 2015 is the day when we started actually to monitor this, and 2030 will be the final date. And now we are in 2022, so about halfway in between. And if we see safely managed in the world, we went from 38 to 57, which is good. There's an improvement, but we are still far from being, the aim is to reach 100. People need to live in a safe place, in a healthy place. So to go from 57 to 100, can you imagine? We only went in 7 years from 38 to 57. If we go this way, we will only reach in 2030, we will only reach about 65 or 66%. So it's still far from being reached. So when we look at the others, we see basic is staying the same, limited is staying the same. We can see, however, on a global stage, that there is the decrease of open defecation, but it's still there. If in the next slide we will see, this is the world. We will see now in Central and Southern Asia, where it's closer to India, but not only limited to India, with the same definitions. Where do we stand? In the region, we stand at 51%, which you see already quite a large way to go forward. However, the big change, and this is something which is very positive, is that the open defecation went from 25% to 9%, so really very much reduced. And this is perhaps due to this big campaign that India has done for the past, I think, 15 years now, maybe even more, 20 years on a community-led total sanitation, which was something that really pushed forward a lot of these initiatives. So we can see there's some improvement, but still not yet there. Where are we if we look at India? Now, India, these are the figures, the latest figures that we have when we do the monitoring. The monitoring is actually done. How is this monitoring done? There's a monitoring that is done by WHO, the World Health Organization, and UNICEF, and they have contacts with all the ministries of health, related ministries that provide on a monthly or quarterly basis data, which is actually transmitted. This is an agreement that each government has with the World Health Organization. So this is the data coming from the countries. Sometimes there can be a discrepancy in terms of the interpretation or the analysis, but the data is there. So what do we see? Nationally, we are a little bit like what is happening in the region. So the figures are still there. In the rural side, we still have a lot of open defecation, but in the urban side, we look at this. Urban side, we still have a lower safely managed. Well, you will tell me, but why? Rural is not safe and not as much. There's more safely managed proportion of sanitation services compared to urban. Why? Because in rural areas, in this way, you have latrines which are safely, the components, excreta is safely managed. It is either being sealed or it is either being dealt with in a very safe way that avoids any contact and contamination factors or processes going on with the users. So what we can see in India, we still have a long way to go. From today, you look at we're 43% because this dark green is what we are aiming at. And you can see normally when you see in European cities, the wastewater treated, this is going through sewage system. This is what we are using. So you can see the wastewater not being treated, or only 12% being treated. You can imagine the rest. The wastewater, and it becomes a health issue, it becomes an environmental issue, it becomes an issue where the city cannot really, the land worth is decreasing, where you've got a lot of problems of health and hygiene. So when I talk to, I've worked in many slums in the world, in Africa, also in Asia, in Latin America. And when I talk to mayors and trying to say, look, we need to improve the situation, we really were trying to see, look, this needs to be done together with the local communities. And this is what we're going to see. And it has a wide, we have to understand there's a wide impact of not doing this properly. So if we look at the next slide, I just wanted to show you that actually you see, maybe some of you are not accustomed to the SDGs as a whole, but there are 17 SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, which almost all the countries of the world, except with the exception of one or two, have agreed to actually try to reach some common goals in terms of non-poverty, in terms of health, in terms of gender equality, sustainable cities, climate, water, above and on land, and institutions and partnerships. What is amazing is that clean water and sanitation is actually linked with all of them. And once we do an investment, this is something we really need to understand. The value of water, the value of sanitation is such that with $1 invested, you can reach much wider benefits in terms of benefits. And this is something which I was speaking about with the discourse we can hold with municipalities, trying to make to people understand, the responsible persons understand that, you invest $1, the multiplier effect can go from 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 20, can go very high. Depends on the situation, depends on the zone. So really, it's a worthwhile investment. And today we know this, we are looking at a circular economy type of situation, which we are very much exploring in industrialized countries. Can we look at the next slide? So really today, what is the UN, the United Nations, trying to advocate? This is the last report from 2024 from the UN Habitat. And UN Habitat has produced this report, which is valid for UN agencies, the Global Report on Sanitation and Wastewater Management in Cities and Human Settlements. So, the thing which the investigators, the researchers have noticed, regardless of the technologies you can use, high technology, middle type of technology, or low-cost technologies, many cities in low and middle income countries, LMICs, are struggling to manage wastewater and fecal sludge effectively. So why is this? It's not only a technical issue. It's not only an investment issue. It's really what the report is trying to show, is that in order to provide universal sanitation services, there must be a responsible authority. So this is what the problem which has been really highlighted as one of the key factors of stumbling. And you will see now what we are suggesting in order to move on and finding solutions to try to help countries accelerate the movement towards getting people with safe sanitation services to really accelerate this movement. We're going to show you now, Florence is going to show you what possible solution we are looking at. So Florence has a lot of experience on sanitation, practical sanitation. Florence, as she's speaking now, she's in Uganda. She's been working a lot with WaterAid and a big NGO based, also UK based, but working all over the world, trying to help communities to improve the basic services, provision of basic services worldwide. So please, Florence, could you walk us through what does that mean and how can really make an impact and a change?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, François. So just thank you for giving this very enriching background in terms of where we are regarding progress towards achieving the goals and the targets of our SDG 6. And as mentioned already by François at the beginning, we at IASC, we are championing the urban sanitation agenda and working together with different partners all over, or globally, even at regional and national levels, to ensure that we reshape the agenda on urban sanitation to ensure that we are advocating towards inclusive and equitable, safe and sustainable sanitation services. So in the next slide, I will just give you a bit of more context. So our ultimate goal, and as already highlighted by François, our ultimate goal is to achieve safe, equitable, and sustainable sanitation services for all residents. And one of the promising approaches for urban sanitation is the citywide inclusive sanitation approach, which prioritizes equity, safety, and sustainable services with a strong engagement from local authorities, as well as communities. And therefore, what we can say is that meaningful local engagement is the game changer. And one of the critical aspects of achieving effective sanitation is having a responsible authority. And that was just highlighted by François in the previous slide from the UN Habitat Global Report. So we need to have, there's need for a local authority that is responsible with a clear mandate. Unfortunately, many cities and urban local bodies, especially in the low and middle-income countries, struggle with a lot of fragmented responsibilities. There are no clear responsibilities. Who is responsible for providing sanitation services? And for universal sanitation to be achieved, it's essential that the governance structures that can coordinate efforts efficiently are there. Therefore, therefore, assigning clear policy mandates to public authorities is crucial to defining the responsibility that we're talking about. And without this clarity, their accountability systems cannot function also effectively. And also mandated authorities need to be equipped, because once we have the mandated authorities with clear responsibilities, they cannot be able to deliver on their mandate without the necessary resources that they need to be able to fulfill their roles and their mandates. And therefore, adequate resource planning and active stakeholder engagement is very essential to making urban sanitation successful. And I would like to also point out that success in urban sanitation relies on multiple interlinked factors, which foster some sort of enabling environment. And therefore, local authorities supported by the utilities, operators, and other partners or actors in the sector play a very crucial role in creating this foundation or this enabling environment. And some of the key factors I can point out here is political will and policies. Political will and policies are the cornerstone that enables such an environment to thrive. And political will and commitment is essential to ensure that sanitation services receive the necessary investment and also remain inclusive and sustainable. So for us to be able to achieve our goals that I've mentioned, we need the political will, we need political back, we need political commitment at the forefront. And then also sectoral interlinkages are essential, meaning that we must work collaboratively across various sectors. The water and sanitation sector is the cross-cutting sector, as we have seen already by mentioned or presented by François, showing the different interlinkages between the SDG 6, which is on water and sanitation, with the other sustainable development goals. And therefore, intersectoral collaboration is key to us holistically achieving the goals and targets. And that will also help us to maximize the gains and benefits. Beyond the immediate health impacts, the socioeconomic benefits of proper sanitation really are profound, as already mentioned by François. Another is stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder involvement is also very key, ensuring that everyone from local communities to national policymakers and all the other actors in the sector are part of the process. And then another is technology and innovation. We need to adopt innovative technologies to enhance sanitation solutions. For example, as I mentioned, the citywide inclusive sanitation approach promotes a mix of both seaward and non-seaward sanitation technologies to meet the needs, the diverse needs of all the users in the city. If we focus on only one type of technology, then we will not be able to meet the needs of the specific needs of the different communities or citizens in a city or urban area. So we need to apply a mix of technologies and innovative technologies to address that are context specific. Lastly is on capacity building and formation. We need to continue to advocate for initiatives that strengthen the knowledge and skills of all the local stakeholders to be able to holistically provide services to the community. And in the next slide, I will talk about what are we at IAA doing so far to advance this. So IAA through the Inclusive Urban Sanitation Initiative, we have developed extensive resources that are supporting inclusive urban sanitation, including, we have about 35 case stories, and we'll share with you a link in the chat of our webpage that you can be able to access, and some of these case studies that we have published from, of course, specifically from the low and middle income countries, but different geographies, so be able to see how the different stakeholders, cities and authorities are working to ensure that they promote or advance inclusive urban sanitation. We have videos that we have already produced, about 4 videos that today we'll share with you. One of them, we have discussion papers, we have conducted webinars, and we're still working with other partners to continue producing more materials. We have leveraged partnerships at local, regional, and global levels to drive the inclusive urban sanitation agenda. And our commitment is to provide and enhance these resources to keep the conversations alive and impactful. A great example is the Malindi. Malindi is a coastal city in Kenya, and through the utility, the Malindi Water and Sewerage Company, we're able to document their progress on how they've been able to improve urban sanitation through the citywide inclusive sanitation approach. And this video showcases the power of collaborative action to effectively manage urban sanitation challenges. And therefore, the Malindi case study and all the other stories that I've mentioned that's on our easily accessible on our website, they serve as blueprints, I would say, for replicable success across the different regions. And so I would like to invite you to just watch this video with us, and let's see what is happening out there, and what can we learn from this, what best practices can we learn from this. I'll invite my colleague Patrick to be able to show this video. Thank you.
At the heart of Malindi lies a commitment to inclusivity, and health, driving a future where every resident thrives. Today, Mawasco is on the verge of a sanitation revolution with a city-wide inclusive sanitation action plan. The mission is to ensure safe and sustainable sanitation for every resident, regardless of their socio-economic status. It's about dignity, health, and sustainable urban living. This vision is championed by Malindi Water and Sewerage Company, Mawasco.
Malindi Water is within Kilifi County Government, mandated to provide both water and sanitation services. In 2019, we started the journey towards embracing sanitation.
Malindi, Kenya, known for its beautiful beaches and vibrant communities, faces rapid urbanization. With a population projected to double by 2040, over 300,000 residents lack proper sanitation services, with only 25% of the waste safely managed. This is a threat to the environment, tourism, health, and the economy.
We used to enter toilets with Jamadi, Shanti. The toilets used to sink. No matter how well you build it, drainage water used to flow everywhere.
To address this challenge, we need unprecedented collaboration.
We realized that as Malindi Water, we cannot go alone. Mapping to look at who do we need to speak to, who are the institutions that we are working with, and who influences sanitation in Malindi.
Mawasco has united partners from various sectors to form an integrated sanitation plan using a monitoring and evaluation framework.
How we came now to collaborate with Mawasco was through cleanups. Every month we come together to clean different areas of this town. When we go, like for example, cleaning the beach, and because we have no one single toilet, that's when we get to know the places that have open defecation, the places that need toilets. The cleanup has been able to bring in people to talk about without fear and without shame, because you know when you're talking of matters sanitation, you're talking about people. People don't want to talk about that. So we've been able to inform and transfer knowledge through that platform.
In Malindi, we are having quite a number of projects around the entire sanitation service chain. At the containment level, we have the upscaling basic sanitation for the urban poor. We did about 48 toilets in Kisumondogo, one of our low-income areas. We have the Kenya Informal Settlements Improvement Program that is also doing some toilets in Mwea low-income area. Around containment, we are working with the World Bank to ensure that we have PPP models across, emptying and transportation, so that we also have the private sector coming in.
Mawasco is also constructing a new waste-to-value treatment plant.
This site is Malindi Fecal Sludge Treatment Plant, which will be used to treat about 93 cubic meters of waste a day. This project uses a very unique technology which involves the use of screw presses. The screw press technology separates the solids from the liquids and reduces the BOD drastically by 70%. This is a very important aspect of waste management. This project is technically and environmentally sustainable. We have designed for machines which will work for a period of over 10 years. The briquettes produced from here will be sold as fuel. So people will not be able to cut trees because a lot of trees are being cut to make charcoal, firewood and all that. So we can use these briquettes which are coming from fecal sludge combined with sawdust and coconut husks. This project is the pilot in this country. The system that has been designed employs both the use of waste to value aspect and also treatment of the water. And Malindi having no waste system as we speak, it's going to be a game changer.
When we started on our baseline data, our sheet flow diagram showed that about 25% of the waste is what is safely managed, and about 75% of the waste in Malindi was all red, it was not safely managed. But when you see the interventions and the investments that we are putting in place, we desire that by the time our planning phase is getting to an end, then about 80% of our sheet flow diagram should be green.
MAWASCO's dedicated monitoring and evaluation team works with partners to develop a framework to track progress and proactively address the sanitation challenges.
Regarding impact, I've been able to see how transformative this journey has been, how we've been able to impact on lives.
MAWASCO has helped us first through the water projects. We used to walk long distances to get water, but with the extension of the water services, it has reduced the cost of living. Number two, the new toilets, at least it has improved our standards of health. They are clean as long as you can maintain it. I would advise people to pick on this project. Once built, it's for good. You will not have to make any other toilet. For generations, my people will use it even when I'm gone.
When you put a public sanitation facility in an area that had very high levels of open defecation, and you see people changing their behaviors to start using these facilities, I think that is something good. That is what we want to achieve.
MAWASCO invites all stakeholders, government bodies, the private sector, NGOs, and our community members to join us in this transformative journey.
Malindi Water is the only company in Kenya with a citywide inclusive sanitation plan. We desire to offer that learning space for others to come and learn what a plan can do for a city and how it can transform the lives of the people.
Improving sanitation services for the people of Malindi will reduce disease transmission, enhance health outcomes, and achieve a sustainable and inclusive urban future.
Okay, so thank you very much, Florence, for this, and you can always contact us there, and we'll be very glad to respond to other questions. But right now, because of time, we will ask, of course, Nikhil to if he has any questions or maybe any other around participating in this webinar would have any questions, please don't hesitate. And if we cannot respond now, we will indeed take a moment to respond to you as well, in another way, either by email or we will see this together with Mansi. So yes, Nikhil, please.
Thank you. Just wait, Nikhil. Thank you, Florence, and thank you, François, for the wonderful presentation. Apology for my throat today. But let me just invite Nikhil with a brief introduction of his. Nikhil Kumar holds a bachelor's and master's degree in English literature. Am I audible? Okay, I am. Okay. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in English literature with geography and economics as minor subjects. His academic background includes studies in human rights and ecofeminism. He is currently pursuing his master's degree in natural resources and governance at TISS Hyderabad. His primary areas of interest encompass resource conservation, sustainability, ESG, and e-waste management. So Nikhil, you heard both the speakers and you also heard how IWA is managing, doing urban water and sanitation, and today was sanitation focus. So please pose your questions and try to see how it can draw parallels to what India is doing and facing. Over to you, Nikhil. I think we lost his connection. Okay, so by the time Nikhil joins in, may I ask a question here? And I'm quite happy to see how Malindi really transformed its way, and especially looking at the way it is at the water side. It is already a vulnerable situation, not only for the water, but also it becomes vulnerable for the people out there. So when I have a very naive question as a student of water, when we reach out to community to address water projects or even especially sanitation project, and Florence had put it very nicely, that people are okay to talk about water, but they are not okay to talk about sanitation sometimes. So when we reach out to these kind of the communities and we have to address the sanitation issue. What is the breaking the ice moment, Florence, from your experience on the ground, and even François, I see Nikhil has joined, but maybe you can take this question and take it further. Go ahead, Nikhil. Can you hear us? You can just join with your video on.
Is Florence here? Okay, Florence, you want to start, or you want me to start? How do you want to go about it?
François, you can take up, then I'll just
Yeah, okay.
come in
Good.
after you.
So basically, we can start with what was mentioned in the film. You can see it is a topic which can be discussed within the community. I've noticed a lot of the time that, you know, when we come with experts, come with a diagram and say, you know, here is your health problem, etc. And it's it has some impact, but it's not always it's sufficient. What the most impactful way to
Hello,
get
hello.
yes, hello, yeah, we can hear you, yes.
Yes,
Hello,
you are back.
ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm disconnected. I'm really sorry for that.
No issues, no
No,
issues.
no
I have
problem,
already
no
asked a
problem.
question. Let them answer, and then you can pose your question. Yeah, go ahead.
So the
Okay.
most impactful way to actually discuss about such a sensitive topic is actually allow the
Okay, now
community
it's
to
okay. Now
talk
let it
about
be.
it. And so the way you can use participatory methodologies, you can use different games, etc. But whatever process you want to have, it's really important that the community actually realizes, because it's a question
On it,
very
on it.
often. We don't realize that sanitation is not only a question of technology or choice, etc. There's some kind of, in the mind of the people, something has to happen. And so do realize, and people start to realize and see there is a problem. I want to make a change. And this is where you can come in. But before that, if we come too quickly, it can have not the expected results. The community has to realize, yes, this is when we want to come in. So either through telling stories, or through observation walks, or through there was one way that was used by the CLTS, the community-led total sanitation, which was on blaming. It was quite effective actually, because actually people were, shown, you know, this is not going right, etc. But it creates a pressure on, and it was used for a certain moment, but now it is still being used in parts of India, I know, and in Bangladesh. But now we are realizing that it's incomplete, because we need to look at not only at trying to blame people, but to make them have a change, but we need to look at the whole service side and organize. So one way is to get to people, the community, to talk about it, especially the game changers who are the women, because the men, they will not even know, they will not even talk about this issue.
Yes.
So women are the game changers in the community, and they are the ones we need to talk to. And also the other point, which I was when I was working with UNICEF, I remember that really working with the schools really did make a change, because the children can become the game changers with the families. You know?
Yes.
So that is the point.
Okay, so we have Nikhil now back on the game. So Nikhil,
Okay.
over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, ma'am, my internet connection was in the goal that urgently. That's why. Oh, first of all, I want to thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, ma'am, to have a talk with our experts in the field of water and sanitation. If we see Sustainable Development Goal 6, it is not on track. That's why we are having this session. And now, first, I'm going to summarize. Should I summarize, ma'am, or not?
I think you can go to your questions, because we can say.
Yeah, we have lack of time. That's why. Okay,
Go ahead.
so I have some questions with that, and we have also some of the participants. If anyone of them want to ask any question, they can put their questions in the chat box. The chat box is visible to me, and I'm sure that their curiosity will be addressed by our experts. So one of the question that I thought about when I saw looking at the video is that, sir, this question is from speaker sir, and it is what steps should be taken as a professional to create awareness for sanitation among community, which really works.
Okay, I
Is
think I
there-
can come in quickly. Just to Marcia had actually asked the question here on your behalf, and François had responded a bit, and I think I can just share a few more other points. So just building on to what François just shared, the participatory approach is very key to ensure that to ensure meaningful engagement of the community. And it's important in whichever approach that we use, it's important that the community themselves realize that actually this is a problem and that they are willing and they are ready to take action. Because when they are involved and they take ownership from the beginning, they will be able to be part of the process from the beginning to the end, and they'll be able to sustain all the work that has been done and maintain, if it's about infrastructure, they'll be able to, participate, maintain this infrastructure without anybody coming to remind them or, tell them of the importance. So it's really important that the community involved in every stage of any sanitation intervention, right from design, development, implementation, even monitoring. Committee members are very good at monitoring, and they can provide you with a lot of information that can help improve where necessary. So it's important, and we need to avoid the top-down approach of planning for communities. I think that has been happening for a long time, where we think as experts that we know what the community wants. We know where the problem is. I think we should flip it the other way and just have involved them right from the beginning in identifying and assessing where the problem is or what the problem is, and then moving on from there throughout the process. They need to be involved. Otherwise, we'll continue to have a lot of interventions, including infrastructure and projects that are abandoned, that have failed, that are vandalized, because this wasn't priority to the community at all anyway. So it's really important. And the other thing, of course, François talked about engaging the school children. Children are really change agents, and so it's important that they are also involved through different programs within the schools. And also, the other aspect is we need to involve we need to partner with community leaders. We need to collaborate with the local leaders, including the religious leaders within the community and other local influencers, who can be able to champion all these initiatives, sanitation initiatives, because their involvement kind of like lends credibility and helps to reach wider audiences, ensuring that the messages also resonate with the community values. So with the entry point to any community work or community engagement are the local leaders, and we need to involve them. I think that's what I can share for now, considering this. Yeah.
Ma'am, one more question I have regarding in Kenya, and they have used a PPP model, as I've seen in the PPP. There's written that PPP model. Can we implement that PPP model in other developing nations? For example, in our India, can we use that PPP model? What is that? PPP model is that?
I'm not sure I've gotten your question,
Okay,
Nikhil.
maybe I can take this question. So the PPP model.
Yes, sir.
PPP model means public-private partnership. So this means that it's engaging the various actors from the public sector, from the private sector to work together. And there's a question that came, I saw in the chat regarding how do you tackle with the legislative bodies or the regulators. This is again this work, this championing sanitation, if we want to make a change, it becomes the business of all. All are engaged. So the PPP model is more or less more than anything else, trying to serve the community through the public, usually the owners, and the operating body being the private sector. So PPP model is this, public-private partnership. And I saw a question, and we don't know, Mansi, that how far we can go, but there's a question about how can we be attracted to work in sanitation. So maybe I will try to give some kind of view from my side, and I think of Florence as well. I will respond in two ways. First of all, it has never been in my wildest dreams when I was a young man to think, I will be working in sanitation. No, it's not a dream that you have when you have a kid. But it's something which grows when you actually start working in the field of environment, of sanitation, not of environment, of water, of urban planning, of housing. This is an issue that comes up as very critical. And so even in slum development, slum improvement, it becomes so critical, it becomes such a priority that you actually want to know more and to get involved much more. So I think sanitation is something that you get involved once you are working in development, once you're seeing how vital, crucial it is. And then the second point I wanted to tell you, Bill Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, Bill Gates, this created Microsoft project all over the world that is known. He has also dedicated a huge amount of his fortune in sanitation. And why? Because really to see, he was really a part really working on very high-tech technologies and then looking at how come we are moving on high-tech and we're still on the essential needs of humankind, we're not there. So he spent a lot of his fortune working on this, and actually our project is financed by Bill Gates. And so this is one of the things you can see that some of the people do realize that we need to also not only to think about the most beautiful technology, we need to think about human necessities and human rights. Florence, from your side, what could we say about this question on attracting people to working on sanitation?
Thank you so much, François, and really for sharing your thoughts on that. I think from where I see, looking at my experience from a personal perspective, I think it starts right from the education, right? And it's important that throughout the education journey of I would say of any person, especially now at high school, some of those career programs, career mentorship, and sessions that we kept on having, and you bring all different kinds of already professionals and experts in specific fields that come to talk to us students about the different. I think it's always the culprits of doctors, lawyers, and engineers, and not necessarily also in sanitation. So there's still very limited career programs or career advancement, career mentorship programs that are more geared towards water and sanitation, especially sanitation. And so I think it starts from there, right? Because as a student or a child that is growing and you're being mentored through these different career opportunities, I think it helps you to appreciate it better. And so I think that's one way to make it attractive, right from the time someone is learning and studying and trying to decide which career path to choose. I think that is really very important. But also, I think in terms of work opportunities, it's I think the fact that the water sector is still, and I'm speaking from a gender perspective, the fact that the water sector is still hugely male dominated, right? And so the only way we can make this attractive for the female, for the women, for the girls, is to ensure that we have a lot of career growth, career advancement opportunities that are targeting the girl child. And in these areas, because it's always been, the engineering and all that is for the men, And so even growing up in your head, and I think that's why I did not do engineering, because I knew it's a very hard, course to do and something like that. But I think, so once you're groomed in that way, and once you're given all these opportunities, that is equal opportunities for both the girl child and the boy child, I think that is also one way we'll start to see more of the girls or the women in the sector, and so that will also make it attractive. There have been scholarship opportunities, and I see that a lot. I see some scholarship opportunities for that specifically aim and say, okay, girls are encouraged, or girls have a higher chance, or something like that. That is one way. But I think organizations also that are working in the water and sanitation sector need to open the doors for internship programs and all that, because you see, when jobs are advertised and you are already specific on experience, you are specific on, you need 5 years experience, but what about someone who is just fresh from graduate school? How will they get the opportunity? And yet I see many other sectors that provide a lot of internship opportunities, and it's through that gives somebody an entry point into the sector, and they'll be able to appreciate and embrace it more. So I think that's what I can share for now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your response on that question. As we saw the data is not very satisfying, that we are not on track. As the sir said, that we are moving, but we are not on track. We have to work a lot for getting that objective, for acquiring that target. So because I'm a literature person, so there's a very famous poem of Robert Frost, which says like, woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So we have to work a lot for achieving that target, I think. We are moving, but we are not on track. So now we have a lack of time. So I'm giving the mic to Mansi ma'am. She will take the session further.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for your very sweet poem. Or sounds bit pessimistic, but then as rightly put by François and Florence, that we have to keep also moving, and there are some good examples around the world. I see some questions here, and I'm really tempted to take them because the conversation is really very interesting, and especially because not many people talk about sanitation, even within 320 sessions. Let me tell you, we have not had many sessions on sanitation. So it's not that people are not talking sanitation in real and on ground, but even in online, it becomes a rare opportunity. So it's a good idea to take those questions and maybe invite our participants. Namrata, would you like to unmute and also put yourself on video so that we can have you on record and pose your questions in a better articulative way? Namrata, would you like to do that? We also have Sahanubhuti.
Sahanubhuti Krishnan, can you please come on the mic?
Go ahead.
Hello. Are you here?
Okay. So maybe both of you are requested to really look at the Florence and François. If you may look at the question in the chat box and respond to them. Can you find the questions or shall I read it? Okay. So Namrata has a question on what are the challenges that Mawasco-like agencies face while nudging the legislative members worldwide to work towards the sanitation policy. So maybe Florence, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure, I can, and then François can add if he has something to add. Well, I think from the Malindi or Mawasco experience, I think one of the challenges that I think they mentioned briefly in the video, but also in our frequent interactions with them is funding and financing. I think this is a very key challenge in the sector, not only to Mawasco per se, but also in the sector generally. That yes, when we can have, we can make all the efforts, we can have all the good plans and make all this, the plans for the city, for the town, for the urban area. But if this is not funded, if we do not have funding towards this, then we'll not be able to achieve much, really. So I think that is one of the challenges that are still facing. But of course, the fact that they are involved in the coordination and collaboration initiative that they have with the different partners, including the government authorities, it's important that they continue to make a case for the need for increased funding and financing towards sanitation. Because if you look at water and sanitation, it's water that has always been getting the bigger share of funding and not sanitation. And so I think we need to continue as experts to continue making a case and provide all the evidence that will showcase, that will justify the need for funding. So funding is still a challenge that Mawasco and any other utility is still facing. And I think also in terms of coordination and collaboration of efforts, because there are so many players in the sector. And so how to coordinate all these efforts is still a challenge. Of course, even when you have a coordination mechanism in place, you still find bits and pieces here of fragmented kind of efforts or duplication of efforts. So that is something that they're still trying to work together with the collaboration mechanism. I don't know if François, you have something else to add. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Florence. Firstly, thank you for the session and the case study especially, it was great. So my question was, yes, we get the point, and I'm from India. So here, only after a particular government change, there was a focus towards sanitation practices since 2014, and it's really doing good. I wanted to know what will stop political leaders worldwide to not to take such public policy initiatives and only focusing on other areas. Only after SDG, Sustainable Development Goals came, things are falling into place. At least some are concentrating on, say, SDG 6 or other erstwhile neglected topics. So what is stopping the top level leadership? Apart from, yes, it is not an election manifesto thing, it's not so fruitful for them, I get that. But what exactly is stopping leaders world over to not take things from top down also?
François, it's the similar question I was asking about youth.
Yes.
So youth become adults. Over to you.
Yeah. All right. So look, I think the best way to get the leaders really involved is the fact that everything is known, is public. All these figures about SDGs, the data I've been sharing with you, is available to everybody. So there's, when a country does not meet its targets, there's already a sort of a reputational risk that the country, oh, look, it promised to do this, it hasn't done this, etc. But at the same time, when you're a politician, you can play on this. It means, oh, I haven't managed, so I need to have more inputs. So it's a game, politics is a game. But I think basically to get the leaders moving, there is indeed the wider spectrum of everybody knowing. It's transparent. We know what is happening. The reports are all there. that I said. And then the number two is also for political purposes. Now, it's not only known to the world, but everybody can have this information. And actually, at the local level, and that is a pity, people don't know that there are commitments that governments have to do that, and can become an election issue. It can become something that, you've made a commitment. Where is it? It's a human right. Where is it? And so this is the role of course, the NGOs, and the role of organizations like you. You're not in an opposition, but you are there for information. And I think information, transparency, and of course, social pressure. Because we were in London a few weeks ago here having a discussion with different experts from all over the world on the sanitation issue. And one lady was saying, look, in my country, the only way we can make a change is through pressure, social pressure. So there is this, I would say, social pressure, transparency, elections, and of course, also participation of different. When I was, for example, in Latin America, we were organizing roundtables. So around these roundtables, you could get all the different sectors, ministries, and also donors. And the donors, they would not give any more money to those who were not doing the job. So there's all that type of pressures that you can actually apply. I don't know, Namrata, this topic is super interesting. We could go on, but I gave you a few of the points.
Thank you. And I think, Sahanubhuti, if you can ask your question quickly, and both Florence and Francois, if you can be very brief, and then we close it up, because it's good to really engage the youth in these conversations. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, my question is regarding oftentimes for the acceptance of policies and the modern technologies regarding sanitation, there has to be coherence between the legislative policies that are brought up and the community's acceptance regarding it. But there are often times conflict in regard to this. So, how does these agency you address it, sir, and what should be the approach both from the legislative end and the communities, and as for us as policy students, what should be the priorities, the things that we should keep in mind to combat with these conflicts? That was my question. Thank
you. Florence, you want me to start, or you want to start?
You can go on, François. I'll come in.
Okay. So thanks for the question, and this is typically something that comes in reality. And I'm sure that you will see in a city, it's a bit like also in a country, you might have what in a country we call dual economies, meaning that you've got the official economy, then you've got also the informal economy. In sanitation is the same. You actually, in a way, you've got what the engineers or urban planners have been, developing, and then it has its limitation, because there's such systems in universities, as in European universities, you don't learn about, urban poverty and all this type of thing. So there's a limitation to the systems that they learn in university. So, and so how do we move on that? So basically now there's a lot of training for local leaders, local municipalities are trying to see, look, this is the way, other options that are possible. But you're bringing another point, which is linked to the legislative body. We have come across, maybe this is maybe even one of the hardest points to solve, Sahanubhuti. Because when you speak about sanitation, there's an issue of norms around quality of service, about what type of system you can use, how you're going to tackle your excreta, you're treating it, and how you're going to dispose of it, etc. So it's really one of the major issues, because the regulatory aspect on this is most of countries is vacant. So there is a need there. To actually, and this is one of the activities we are busy with in our organization, is to improve the regulatory aspects of sanitation. Try to say, look, here if you want to build a latrine, these are the norms, these are the standards, to protect your vicinity, protect your home. Also, if you want to have a safely management of your fecal sludge or excreta, these are the norms you can use. So people need to be informed about that, and they are not. Obviously, there's a vacuum. So there's a lot of work to be done there, Sanabuti.
Okay, I think as a host of the session, I have to really call it off for the day. But before that, I must thank François and Florence for the wonderful conversation. And I feel so privileged to have this conversation, but we have also not done enough. So I'm really, really tempted to really have more sessions on sanitation, because as we talk today, more than 1.7 billion people still lack access to basic sanitation. As you were mentioning in your chart, we are not even talking about substantial, we're talking about the basics here, which is key to preventing a lot of epidemics, water epidemics particularly. And also, as you rightly mentioned, it's not about need, it's about human dignity as well. And the fact which comes out very clear from the youth to even the politicians, that this is not a subject which is really a everyday conversation. And at W4W, we have been always talking about conversations crucial for conservation. And I think I have to have a new tagline, that sanitation conversation is more important than any conversation. And wherever all over the world we are talking about, dignified human dignity, human rights, and often most of the initiatives end up giving access to water and sanitation facilities. But very rightly put by Florence and François both, that there has been certain level of negligence to sanitation if we compare the access to water vis-a-vis access to sanitation. Somehow, water being fundamental right has been taken more seriously. Not that it should not be, of course it should be, but I think sanitation is equally more serious as access to water. And if you look at India's situation, we have had many schemes where water toilets and toilets have been provided, but water has not been there. So even then sanitation is of no use if there is no water. So these are interchangeable issues. But I'm also tempted, when you are talking about today, that we have to also talk about the use of wastewater and also use of wastewater in food, and the nexus of water supply and sanitation. These are very, very important topics to be discussed for. But for now, it's a good time to really say deep gratitude to François and Florence for this wonderful session, and definitely Patrick Renaud, who has been at the background to make the presentation possible for both of them, and our young discussant, Nikhil Kumar from Hyderabad TISS, for the enlightening session. Thanks to all the participants here in Zoom, and I see quite a number of people on YouTube for being part of this session, and all of you over the 3 years to really help us cross this 300 mark and make these water conversations meaningful, not only for us. I have been learning all these sessions, never missed any session, to be honest. We shall continue with Wednesdays for water sessions with the Wednesdays to come. And next Wednesday, we have a very interesting session as part of education series, because we are talking about, is water really taught enough? And in that, we have professors from Columbia University, New York, where they're talking about celebrating the monsoons and looking at the peri-urban water management in India. And the link is also in the chat box, so people can really look at it. This week, we are still having one more session, that is Friday Water's Thesis Club, when we invite a PhD scholar to talk about thesis. So that's on November 8th, and we talk about Chennai wetland management and looking at the social ecological study of Pallikarni Marsh. That brings an end to the session. Thank you so much, all of you. Please take care of yourself. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mansi. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.